What's up, guys? Welcome to the second episode of Dope Talk. I am your second host, Will, or Covert Noob 5, along with my good buddy, the Selfie King, the Content King, aka Phil Vallejo. And in this particular episode, we are going to cover all things SHOT Show. Now, yes, we didn't cover literally every single thing. Those of you guys that have ever been or seen pictures or videos or anything like that know that SHOT Show is absolutely massive. But we decided to highlight a few products in each of the specific categories that we decided were kind of relevant to our audience and things that you guys might want to hear about, and hopefully some stuff that kind of piques your interest and maybe stuff that you haven't heard about or hadn't seen yet, and you guys go and check it out. So we hope that you guys enjoy this. As always, it's going to be a good conversation, a little bit of lightheartedness, a little bit of seriousness, and we'll get into some technical talk as well as just some overall philosophies and see if we agree or disagree on certain things. So we hope you guys enjoy it. Once again, this is episode 2 of the Dope Talk podcast, and I am your host, Will. That's your host, Phil. And let's just get right to it, man.
Dude, episode 2. The first launch, the first episode was well received, man.
Absolutely, man. First of all, let's thank everybody that tuned in for the first episode. We were just kind of rolling and didn't really know what we were gonna do, and seems like a lot of you guys are into it.
Dude, it's the collab everyone's been waiting for.
Well, man, hopefully we're here for many more, and hopefully you guys get some enjoyment, some fun, and some learning points out of this too. I've seen a lot of people already hit me up and already bring the comment section in as far as like, oh, okay, can you talk about this? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, I think I think just again the contrast between both of our stories is dope.
Yeah, for sure.
And then we're just on the same vibe. So, anyways, let's talk about SHOT Show. I had a little bit of fun with this past weekend, but for a good reason. And I appreciate you keeping me up with all the updates with what was going on. So let's talk about what's hot and what's not.
Okay. Yeah. So
well, hold on. How was it for you? Before we dive into how.
Man, it was it was good. It was long. I was there basically every day, except for Friday. But it was busy. It was good to see a lot of people that I haven't seen for a long time. Got to say what's up to a few people and kind of reconnect and do that whole thing and schmooze a little bit here and there. But I always like finding new products or like seeing all the cool stuff that everybody's got going on.
Yeah. And you, how many times have you been to SHOT Show?
Oh man, my first year was 2019. So
okay.
This is going to be like 6 years now of SHOT.
6 years. Yeah. Well, technically there was like a 1 or 2 year where they didn't have SHOT Show.
2020. No, 21 we did have SHOT Show, and dude, 21 was the best because it was empty. Nobody was there. Oh no.
Oh yeah. No, 22.
22
I think
then.
I think they didn't have it for 21.
Yeah, you're right. Because 2020, COVID hadn't hit yet because it was in January. Yeah. 22 was the one that was great. 21, they didn't have. And then 22 was amazing because I got to go to every booth and just get it done in like 2 days.
Yeah. It's crazy. When I first went, I think it was 2016 or 17. I was teaching at cyber school.
Okay.
And I was like blown away with like just how epic it was, right? And like there's like, especially if you dabble everything in the like firearms, like there's just not enough. 4 days is not enough to cover any ground. So I didn't know any better to like have a plan. And at that point I didn't know anybody, right? And so even just sticking to the long range boost, like it took all 4 days. But yeah, and then working it when I was with Gunworks was a whole different story. Oh my God, dude. Just like setting up and then just like having to sit the booth and just talk to people, like that was miserable. But then the last 2 times that I went, just straight business, which is nice. Just like being able to plan meetings, meet face to face with obviously my partners and my sponsors. But then it's always cool to run into people that you either see on Instagram or YouTube, reconnect with old people in the industry. And yeah, dude, like in the hallway transitions, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those are like the best.
Yeah, absolutely. When people just find you, hey man, what's up?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude, what's going on? I didn't know you were here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's dope. That's dope. So okay, let's dive into it. What's the first thing we want to talk about? What's hot?
Okay, so I feel like this year for precision rifle, specifically in terms of like PRS, like race gun, it was a bit slow. There wasn't a ton of new stuff. Scope wise, you had a couple new entrants as far as companies. So there's a new company that's sort of taking the Apex route, and they're called Telson, and they've got a scope similar to the Apex rival. So that'll be a nice little thing to look out for in the like 2,000-ish price range. They're a new company out of Canada.
How do you spell it? Telson?
Yeah, Telson.
About to be like Joe Rogan over here, just pulling stuff up.
Yeah, pull it up, man. Pull it up. So they seem dedicated to want to get into precision rifle, and they it looks like their first attempt at a scope looks pretty good. I went and I checked it out, and shout out to Elia for taking me down to their booth and showing me that company, because I had never heard of them before, admittedly, but this was kind of like their coming out party, and so they'll be interesting company to watch out for. But those guys gave off a really good vibe, and they seem dedicated to want to make precision rifle scopes. And then after that, obviously Kahles with the 5-40.
Oh, let's save that for a different. No, the 5.4. I mean, I think I leaked some photos and videos to you before, and so you already knew it was coming. And even before that, right? Remember on Sniper's Hide?
People were already talking about it on Sniper's Hide.
About it. Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah, and I hadn't even seen it or heard of it. Well, I mean, I had heard at that point, but I hadn't seen one. And so, and I think someone else even brought it up. It wasn't even either you or me that brought up in Sniper's Hide. Yeah,
correct. And so it was interesting to kind of finally see that come to fruition. Admittedly, not a whole lot different than the 3.5 to 28 in terms of like controls and mechanics. Everything seems very similar. Top mounted parallax, left side, right side windage, DLR, non-DLR versions, and the same exact eyepiece as the 3.5 to 28. It's ginormous. Obviously, though, it's a little bit longer, 56 mil objective.
Yeah.
And it's hard to judge much more than that inside of a haul, but it looked good. About 16 inches long.
I'm gonna pause you real quick and give credit where credit's due. You helped me shape the format of my initial review, so I appreciate you. And the testing. Well, the testing that I could do, right? I mean, we talked about, because I had such a limited time having it. I wasn't able to run it for the full soup to nuts. But I appreciate, it was like, okay, hey, if you had this thing for a week, how would you, what would you run with it? And, for the most part, I did everything. And then, again, appreciate you helping me. Again, because, you know what you're looking for in terms of optics, but also like, okay, hey, as a consumer, like, how would I want to, be told this information in what manner? And then ultimately, like, who's it for? So, like, who's the Kahles K540i for? Because, like, again, when I hit people with that $45.99 price tag, they were like, go kick rocks.
Yeah, for sure. So it's gonna play in that realm right there with the ZCOs and the tangents and the Schmidt Benders. Schmidt Bender came out with a new like precision hunting scope, which looked pretty interesting. Is a 3 to 18 by 42. It's called the Meta, META, and it looks good. It's fully featured tactical turrets and everything like that. Same windage, same parallax illumination setup as the 6 to 36, and it looked good on initial impression. Very lightweight. It's Schmidt Bender price, but a 3 to 18 by 42 is not something that we really see very often. And so, 42 mil objective is a little bit interesting choice, but they gave me the reason that, well, you could mount it a little bit lower depending on what type of platform it's going on, ARs or hunting guns, stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see how it does.
Dude, I don't want to dive into a rabbit hole, but like right now, you brought up mounting lower, and there's this whole Karma Sutra thing going on right now with Frank Galley and Chris, which is just great. You know what I mean? They're essentially challenging the current status quo of you need to get as low as possible.
Right.
I have my theories, which is a whole completely different topic in itself, but obviously it just looks silly to have a super high mount and running barricades obviously in and out of portholes. Like good luck trying to see through it. Like if you especially if like you already got your bag and you've got like what a
1.7 or a 2.0 crazy.
And you got like a 3.1 sight height. You're just like you're just literally looking at the wall.
100%. And that's a whole thing for maybe a different discussion or a different podcast that we could do. But I do think it's interesting because I've definitely shot enough matches where the portholes have been so small that I've either had to borrow a smaller game changer because a regular one won't fit, or I'm barely clearing with like a Schmedium.
Or not even using a bag and just having to use tripod rear.
100%.
So that's funny. Okay, back to optics. So 3-18, 42 Schmidt Bender. I guess we'll stick on optics and then we'll roll into like chassis and rifles and stuff like that.
And then after that, let's see. So Schmidt Bender. Then we had ZCO's got the 2 to 10.
I thought they announced that last year.
So they did announce that last year, and obviously, they've have not released it yet, but it seems a lot closer, and they made some tweaks to it as well now, as far as the setup and stuff like that. So it seems a lot more polished this year around, because last year the one that they showed me was basically just like the Gen 1, like the very first prototype ever made that they had just kind of slapped together for the show, and admittedly, maybe wasn't super ready to be announced, but a lot of people were excited about it. And now they've added the ability to go 2 mils below zero, because speed drop was requested by some high speed, low drag guys, or the ability to run speed drop dope. So they incorporated that into it. So I do think that we'll be seeing the 2 to 10 very likely, this year, and probably sooner rather than later, hopefully. But the 2 to 10 is definitely something that a lot of people have been, excited about for ARs and some close range hunting, stuff like that. Then the only other thing that they have some new accessories, which is cool. And then they're going to do a limited edition run of the 5 to 27 with the OD green color that a lot of people were asking for online. For those of you that are watching this, insider tip, there's only going to be 150 made, period, and that's going to be shipped and distributed between all the different distributors. So if you really want the OD green one, there's only going to be 150 made. It's going to be available in all 3 reticles, the 1X, 2X, 3X. But I don't know how many each distributor is going to get, so call them up and let them know you want one. And only the 5 to 27 model. They're not doing the 8 to 40 or the 4 to 20.
Nice.
Then after that,
well, hold up.
Okay.
So 2 to 10. So this is the LVPO market.
Yes.
Or MPVO. What? And you and I aren't gas gunners, fucking tack shooters.
Correct.
Correct. And so, I don't want to I don't want to speak like we know stuff, but like there's this again industry buzz of like LPVOs, MPVOs, like it's all the same.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many videos on YouTube now of like, dude, LPVOs, MPVOs, and then we're gonna have HPVOs and like, I don't know, semi-HPV, like what? I don't know, dude. It just gets all it's a variable powered optic. Like, it doesn't matter. Truthfully, I think that there is a legitimacy to calling something an LPVO, because that's specifically more for like ARs or like really close range hunting, European stuff, etc. But after that, I think you're just really muddying the waters, and you're just trying to come up with a bunch of rocket science terms to make yourself sound cooler than you really are for like a clickbait YouTube video. Like I think it's kind of dumb, personally, but to each their own.
Or like trying to create a new niche that is already like it's not okay. And the ZCO 2 to 10 is a 36 mil tube as well.
Yes, 36 mil tube with a 30 mil objective, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
You know what's crazy is when I still remember when ZCO first came out, and you know, they came out with a 36 mil tube, and that was the first time a 36 mil tube had came out, right? Or was there already?
No, so IOR, which a lot of people talk a lot of shit about, they had done a couple of 36s, and they had even done a 40 for a long time, and even now still do both. But those scopes never really caught on in popularity, and they had a bunch of tracking issues and shit like that. So as far as mainstream scopes, yes, ZCO was the first one to really mainstream the 36 mil tube.
Yeah. So I remember how like people were like, well, we can't even find mounts for it. Now, like, dude, everyone's got mounts. So it's just so cool to see how much the precision rifle community has evolved since then, you know, and we're continuing to push the threshold. Okay, keep going.
Okay, and then after that, March came out with their Gen 2 of the 5 to 42 by 56 High Master. So for those of you that don't know March, they're very well regarded and well respected in the bench rest community. Their 8 to 80 Majesta is essentially the tangent theta, or the king ding, if you will, of like bench rest scopes. But they came out with a PRS specific scope. It's the 5 to 42. So I had the 5 to 42 Gen 1 that I included in my big scope review on my YouTube channel. And it was okay, but there was a few issues with that they said that they have sort of addressed and cleaned up on this Gen 2, in addition to making some tweaks, such as, which seems to be like a popular, I think it's a mainstay, I don't think it's a trend, but writing on your turrets for your dope. So essentially what they did for all three, their parallax, parallax, windage, and elevation, is they left the aluminum band exposed and etched the numbers on that, so you can write straight on the turret. So it's a writable turret for parallax, windage, and elevation. And they came out with a new reticle as well. They're working with a guy down in Texas, a shooter named Brandon Rudge, and he kind of designed that reticle. And it's a good reticle. It's a non-tree reticle. It's the only like PRS specific offering they're going to have, but it's a well done reticle. It is.
The scope is not. It is just not as aesthetically pleasing. Yeah,
not a looker. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to each their own, right? Yeah. I mean,
at the end of the day, it's like if it functions, if you can look through it, I mean, that's all that matters, right?
If it shoots, it shoots.
Sure.
I'll be curious to see, because March is an interesting company in that they're always pushing design barriers, right? And like they have the 1 to 15, which is crazy. And they were the first ones to do really high erector ratio stuff at a quality level, the 3 to 24 and things like that. So and they make really good quality scopes. Now, whether they'll kind of break ground in this PRS game or not, we'll see. But this is their first, like, hey, we're just going to dive all into PRS and make a PRS focused scope. So, and they're great people. The interesting thing about March is each scope is handmade by one specific technician the entire way through.
That's pretty dope.
In Japan, yeah. So their quality control is absolutely awesome. And I met a couple of the designers there at the booth, and super humble, super nice people. I wish them nothing but the best, but ultimately the market will decide where they get to play. Price point wise, they're playing right in that mid 4K, so they're playing with the big boys.
Okay, so let me ask you this: in your opinion, like, what makes or breaks an optic brand in? So I've always said, for me, and you tell me if you agree or not. Maybe we've had this conversation in terms of like, okay, even though the competition community is small, right? If you look big picture, right? Like competition community is like makes up maybe like 1% of the firearms community, right? But they have like the most amount of influence. You know what I'm saying? And so what makes or breaks a company like that trying to break into competition that, like, because again, like you look at again the PRS finale, just throwing PRS blog, right? Because I'm guilty of looking at that as well. It's like, do you see anyone in the top 150 running a March scope?
Right. And it's interesting that you bring this up, because when I was at the Schmidt Bender booth, I actually ended up sitting with a couple of their guys over there. and they just straight up asked me, and it's funny, they actually referenced the Precision Rifle blog survey that they do, and they literally said, look, 5 years ago we were like a top 5 most used scope, and this year we're not even top 7. Like there was only like 2 people or 3 people at the entire finale using a Schmidt Bender, and they straight up asked me, why did we lose market share and what can we do to fix it? Which, first of all, I thought was a really like humbling question to come from somebody like Schmidt Bender, especially because like they've already been a long established company. But so in general, like one, I don't think you have to totally reinvent the wheel, right? Like ZCO has been a good example of like, they don't do anything like super radical or crazy that nobody else is doing. Like they don't have like electronics built into the scope. They don't have like a rangefinder built into the scope. They don't have like all this, like we're going to reinvent the wheel into a square type thing going on. And it's not super gimmicky. It just works. So I think for any company, one, you have to, provide the features that the competitor is looking for. That's reticle selection. Like, don't just give me Horus reticles and that's good enough, because almost nobody wants that stuff. So do some competition focused things. Give me good turrets. Give me the option for maybe a 10 mil turret or a 15 mil turret or whatever the case is. Give me obviously really solid tracking with no issues in terms of reliability. Illumination is here or there. We've seen some scopes. Obviously, the Mark V is very successful without illumination. Other people agree that, you want illumination. So that's kind of neither here nor there. And then I think the other thing is, truthfully, I think a lot of people, especially in precision rifle, and I've seen this amongst many brands for many different products, support the shooters. Like, and I'm not saying that you have to give away a bunch of stuff on a prize table, but like, engage in conversation. Have like people, whether it's you or somebody from the company or your team shooters, like they're just engage with people and make people feel good about you guys as a company, and really try to establish that personal connection. Obviously I think a good example of that is like John Kyle at Foundation. Like, super awesome dude. And when Foundation started, like, there was already Manners stocks that had been around for a really long time. At that time, when Foundation was first coming up, Macmillan still had some market share in PRS. Admittedly, it was going way down, but there was like 2 stock players. KMW and Terry Cross was still playing a little bit in that stock market. So it wasn't like there wasn't any options. Like, there was some established brands already. But John Kyle's a shooter, super nice dude, super humble dude, goes to a lot of matches, and people just want to support a guy like that or a company like that. And, and then obviously make a good product for the segment that you're trying to fit into. Yeah. So I think those are like the basic steps that you can take when you're first coming out.
I think it goes back to also, like, again, the influence that top shooters have. And when I mean top shooters, I mean like if you're a competitive shooter and you're still a mid pack, you're still in the top 0.1% of marksmen in the world. So when you go back home and you're at your local range and you're practicing, even though, like, again, you're like trying to figure out a way to climb the totem pole and be the next Morgan King or John Pinch, the local guy at the range is seeing you put in work, or even your buddy, when you guys are having a shoot off and you'll probably outshoot him, is like, dude, I want to have what that guy's running. Right. Yeah. And we'll just carbon copy exactly what he's using, and again, the Oki Texas Special, a Foundation and an Impact
and a Dasher
and a Dasher and a freaking Tangent Theta. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so, 100%. I mean, it's proven. So
yeah, I definitely do think that there is a lot of that, especially like when these surveys come out, and because like I'll read like the comments on Cal Zant's like surveys as far as when he does the precision rifle blog stuff, and people always ask me, okay, cool, I could see what the top 200 were using, but what's the exact setup that the guy that won was using? And even when Francis won the AG Cup, you know how many people. Like, and I don't know how people would just assume that I would know. I've only ever shot with Francis once last year at K&M, but like, people were like, dude, I saw that Francis won the AG Cup. Do you know what he was running? Like they want his setup like broken down to the T.
Yeah. And it's on, I mean, it's already on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
It's on MDT's page.
Exactly. But like, there's just so many people that, and I'm not going to say that it's wrong or right, but there's still so many people that think if I run that, like I can buy some extra points. And I think to a certain extent at the very beginning of your precision rifle journey, you can buy some points. Mm-hmm. But once you get to that top level, you can't. Like there's a point where you can no longer buy points no matter what you do. Switch scopes, chassis, calibers, it doesn't matter.
Agreed.
The top shooters are just still going to remain the top shooters, and at that point that's when it becomes the mental game. Mm-hmm. Who can make 200 perfect trigger presses the entire weekend is going to win the match, and that's all mental and fundamental stuff.
I think it also depends on what threshold you're at too, right? Because I think there's also different levels to that in terms of, okay, hey, you know, I know that I'm fundamentally sound and I've got a good headspace, or no, let's say I've got a good mental game, but you're not fundamentally sound, right? And so I think there's layers to of like where you're at in terms of like your experience level, your mental game, and ultimately like, again, your basic foundational principles of like understanding how to run a precision rifle and really putting a lot of tasks into your subconscious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, I always like reference being able to see the information of, or your processing speed, right?
Yeah.
Of like, okay, hey, when I take this shot, like where exactly is my bullet at, and where did I last see my reticle, and how do I correct back to the difference, and ask the question of like, okay, why did I miss that much, right?
Yeah.
What is it I'm seeing in my scope and stuff like that? And again, these top level guys are processing that information. I'm talking like milliseconds faster than, you know, the guys that are not able to break that top 10 consistently.
100%. That ability to in the moment decipher what you're seeing, and not only that, but react to it. Like there's even a threshold, and I find myself somewhere in that point where like I know that I missed off the right, but there's times when I'm either rusty or haven't shot for a little while that I'll go to the next target and I'll still miss off the right again, because even though I processed where I missed, my brain in that moment, I just fired off the next round without making that mental note of like, hey, you actually got to correct for this next shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you know, a lot of different processes in there.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll talk more and more about this.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, as it goes on. Okay, so without diving too much into the rabbit hole, so we covered optics. So we covered high end to what's the like lowest end optic that you're like?
Yeah, so that's what I actually wanted to cover.
This could be a splash.
So that's another one that I wanted to go into. So there's a company called DNT. And DNT is essentially, so everybody knows Arkin. And this is just my personal opinion. This doesn't necessarily reflect Phil's opinion, so I'm going to put that disclaimer out there. But I think Arkin is the biggest piece of junk I've ever seen in my life. I've seen countless numbers of them fail, return to zero, tracking, turrets coming loose. Like they're just not well made. DNT is essentially, I don't know if they're using the same OEM or if DNT was actually the OEM for Arkin, but they're basically coming out of the same factory, essentially. So for those of you that don't know, a lot of rifle scopes from low end to high end, because there's only so many rifle scope factories in the entire world, come out of a lot of the same places, especially when you start to talk about like Japan and China and things like that. But in any event, DNT came out with a scope called the One. It's a 7-35 by 56, and it's right at that $1,000 price point, and it looks way better than any Arkin I've ever seen in my entire life.
Dude, it's $659.
Yeah, so $659 is going to be street price. $1,000 is going to be like you know what it's listed on the website, but it actually, like, the turrets were really good. Obviously, I'm looking at this in a haul, so you know, further testing to be done, but I think that may be one of my forays into that sub $1,000 price point, because it legitimately looked like a well done scope. And other people that I trust that have had hands on it said that it's a much more polished product than anything that Arkin ever put out. So, and honestly, I wasn't into the whole way that Arkin, when they first rolled out as a company, were paying so many shills, and even to this day, I can't get behind that kind of stuff. I can't personally. So anyway, my personal opinion, not reflective of anything except me. So if y'all want to get mad at somebody, I'm here. I'm here. We could run the fade. You know what I'm saying? But
I plead the fifth. I've only had like one or two encounters with Arkins. Actually, a local shooter here runs it, and that's really about it. You know, and so again, like. You and I are snobs. We roll, but at the same time, what I appreciate about you is that you're willing to go look at, okay, hey, what is an entry level optic for those guys that don't have $4,600 to throw down an optic, right? It's like, okay, hey, what is a good barrier to entry? And there's all these companies out there now that are doing that, you know?
Yeah.
I because I'm not, again, as savvy as you are with optics, I just prefer to do the rifle route, you know?
Yeah.
So like my thing this year is like, okay, hey, the year of production rifle reviews, which I do want to talk about later if we have time in this podcast. So
absolutely. There's one more rifle scope that I want to bring up because this is going to lead me into a question that I have for you specifically. But Burris released essentially their XTR scope, which is their like full field tactical scope, but they released it with built-in electronics. So Burris made a Revic essentially.
Okay.
But this one is definitely more like more refined, I would say. And so obviously it's sort of to target like a hunting crowd, but at the same time like maybe NRL hunter crowd, and sort of fit that crossover role. I've shot my Revic and even the Steiner IFS that also has ballistics built in. I've shot those in PRS matches, and there's just not a true need for electronics in a rifle scope as much as I love them, and I geek out on that stuff. But in traditional PRS, the way it's set up right now, where the distances are known and everything like that, I still would dial the scopes like a regular scope because it's actually a little bit slower trying to read a readout as it's switching different distances. But I say that to say that I do want to touch on the direction that technology is going in these sports in general after I go over a couple of other interesting products that were very like techy. But yeah, so another scope for you guys to check out was that Burris XTR. It, obviously durability with the electronics and everything like that remained to be seen, but it looks like a pretty polished product for something like that.
What question did you want to ask me?
Okay, so there's another product, and I guess we'll kind of talk about accessories real quick. So there's a company called Shooters Global, and a lot of people know them for their shot timers, and then they made their own basically electronic level. And what they've come out with this year, or what they're going to come out with this year, is twofold. Number one, the electronic level that the Pro version is an all-in-one. So it's a level with a screen in the middle that and the screen is your timer, your dope card, and your round count. So it's like an all-in-one unit, and then the border of said box, it's like a square. The border is the actual level with the lights on it, so it still has the lights for the level. Now, that's pretty cool as an all-in-one unit, but that's the first time we've seen an all-in-one. But I mean, MDT has a timer and they've got a level, so that's that. But the second part to that is they made these shooting glasses that have a heads-up display in the shooting glasses that connect to the timer, and it will show you your round count, your dope, your time, and your rifle cant in the readout or whatever array of information you pick in the heads-up display in the shooting glasses. And the display is positioned like right here on the right side bridge of your nose. So it's not in the way when you're looking through a rifle scope, but you can't miss it. Like if you just look right there, you'll be able to see it. I tried the glasses on and everything like that, and there will be a video that I have for them on my YouTube channel. But my question in that, so that people can see what I'm talking about, is how far is too far in electronics? Like, that's a really cool product, and I geek out on all that tech stuff. I really do. But I've seen a number of people say, like, you know, at some point enough is enough, and you're going to eventually take the shooting skill out of shooting. I mean, a couple years ago, we had the Trijicon Ventus that was supposed to be a rangefinder that could also read the wind out to like 600 yards. Right. And people were like, well, even if it costs 10 grand, somebody's going to buy it. And, you know, now you don't have to call wind for shots inside of 600. And, you know, and so it just kind of is like down the rabbit hole of, are we all eventually going to be wearing like Iron Man suits, like on the range?
I think people are going to realize that less is more at the end of the day, because, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up with the shooting glasses, because again, great concept, and there's probably going to be people that buy it because they think it's going to, you know, help them gain a competitive edge. But at the same time, it's like, what information are you already not able to process subconsciously, and by putting something like that into now your workflow, now are you compromising yourself? Because like something as simple, I remember when I first put a timer on my gun, to figure out, okay, hey, maybe I can put this on my gun to slow down, because I had an issue with like, you know, getting done with the stage, having 10 seconds left, and dropping 1 or 2 shots, right? And again, we all know guys like Nick Godarzi, who literally take their flash shot at 89.9 seconds with a clean, right? And like his internal clock is so good. So I was like, okay, hey, I want to try to do that. And when I even when I put that level or that timer on my gun, like now having to add it into my workflow of when I wanted to check it, right? And how often I'm checking it, it almost became a distraction, right? Because now I'm spending time on the clock looking and referencing, right? So now it was a completely new workflow that I had to establish. And granted, I decided to keep it. I still have it, but I knew that for me that was a new venture. But at the same time, like that was me, you know, figuring out, okay, hey, how do I get 1%? How do I clean up my processes by 1%, right? And I was like, okay, hey, my time management, I want to clean that up. But I feel like people, a lot of shooters are not there yet to clean up that 1%. They still need to clean up 30%, 40%, right? With fundamentals, wind calling, all these things, right? So like by adding more technology, and I'll say this, when I shot my cow, my elk over the past, in the winter, I still used the hard dope that was just attached to the side of my gun. And I went on that hunt with the new Vector X, Victronics.
Yeah, the binos.
The Bino laser rangefinder, right? And it spit out my dope. I had the Garmin 901 on my watch, or on my wrist.
Yeah.
And the dope that I pulled from to shoot that thing was from my the arm board that was attached to the side of my gun. Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, nothing beats. And it's funny, the other day I was just cruising on Instagram, and he never gave me a solid answer, but he just it was Lucas Botkin. He had he was shooting a sniper match.
Yeah.
And he took a picture of his arm board and put it on his story. And I just asked him, I was like, hey, I'm curious to see how much you've used that over, let's say, the weapon mounted laser rangefinder that he has, or binos. And he didn't give me a clear answer, just because he said that the stages that he shot were all like unknown distance, like you couldn't use anything, you just had to eyeball it. And so, but like I know my answer is like, hey, even for an NRL 100, I'm using my hard data 90% of the time. You know what I mean? Even with the Garmin 901, even with, you know, the Vector X's, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Even though I think for the guys that want simple, yes, the integrated ballistic laser rangefinders is fucking awesome, but I think less is still more.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting, and it's funny because on the flip side of that, not to like totally derail and go off a tangent, but so Ilya Koshkin, you know Ilya a little bit.
Yeah.
He shot his very first NRL Hunter match. At Arizona, right before SHOT Show.
Okay. The Pro-Am. Yeah.
Yep. And he had a great time. He loved it. And he had the Leica range-finding binos, the newest ones that have like the full AB suite and everything. But he also had the Vortex weapon-mounted laser rangefinder on his gun. And I asked him, kind of similar question, like, oh, how'd you like the binos and the Vortex, like the Impact 4000? And he kind of alluded that, like, for future stuff, the Leicas worked great and everything like that, and that was what he primarily used. But he felt like moving forward at matches, he would try to actually use the Vortex more, because he had a big problem transitioning from finding the targets in the binos on the tripod to then finding it on the gun when you lay down somewhere else. And obviously some of that is going to come with, like, match experience and target ID and stuff like that. But he, I guess, felt like if I could just find it in the gun, then I don't have to move off the gun.
Yeah.
So,
and that, I mean, that's a sound concept, right? Like when I RO'd an NRL Hunter match, actually the last, the Defy the Distance, I would see shooters do that in teams. One of them would immediately jump on the gun, which I thought was risky, but then the shooter or their partner would be getting that information. And it makes sense, because now you're saving having to build, a position, right? Whereas like my workflow before that, or with it as a team, is both of us look with binos, right? But unfortunately, when I shot with John at the Gunworks match, we kept timing out. Even if, no matter who shot first, like we try to switch it up, and it was still bad. But yeah, I think there's no wrong answer. I think he's either gonna get good finding the targets with his scope or with binos. But I think everyone can agree 90% of the time you're going to find it easier with binos first before transitioning into a rifle scope.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that basically takes me through the majority of, like, optics, all the way to the bottom end.
Okay. Yeah, no, I want to. Now I'm curious about that D&T, the one. I might have to put that on my radar this year.
Yeah,
okay.
I think that would be a very solid choice.
You want to do chassis first before rifles?
Okay, so yeah, so we can do that, and then I kind of want to go back, or should we just continue on rifle accessories, because there's a few other cool things.
Yeah, let's do rifle accessories, and then we'll just finish off with like rifles or something.
Okay, cool. So rifle accessories. MDT came out with a new lightweight bipod. Well, they essentially bought a company. And came out with two versions of this mountain bipod, and they're super light, like 4 ounces and like 6 ounces.
That's crazy. It almost looks like a Gunworks bipod.
Yeah. Kind of similar, but so they have two versions. They have the super simple ultra light version, which is like 4 ounces, and the legs just basically go from 0 to 90, and that's it. Like they don't have a 45, or anything like that. And then it's just twist lock, pull out, twist lock to adjust the height. So essentially infinite height adjustment. And then they have the the full featured version. Oh, and that first version is Picatinny rail only.
Okay.
And it's like a proprietary mount, so you can't like put like an RRS on it or anything like that. Like it's built into the center saddle of that bipod. And then the full featured version is ARCA or PIC, but same thing. It's like their own proprietary, like it's like the entire center section is like one piece. So it doesn't look like you could put like an RRS on it or anything like that. And that one, you can go from 0, if I remember right, there was a 45 and there is a 90, and then it can go backwards as well. And then it can splay out super wide, like wider than a regular SkyPod. This thing, like the lowest it could go was like touching the dirt damn near. And then could come all the way in, so it had that SkyPod adjustability, but then same thing, twist lock, pull down, twist lock to lock. Interesting feet that just have like one spike in each corner of like of a round tube. I asked them about it, and they kind of felt why that design, and they felt like, well, when you've got a SkyPod, really only that one side of those like claw feet are really even making contact with the ground. So we just felt like that's the one side that this one like hook needs to be on, and it'll like dig into the ground. And they don't know if they're going to make other feet or not. I'm sure maybe somebody would like adapt feet, but it's like the foot looks like it clamps on to the carbon fiber leg, so it's not like a Atlas replacement or anything like that. So that was super interesting. And then they made a Gen 2 of the Send It level. So they worked with Andrew Brandt from Brandt Built to basically design the ocular extension that he was already making. And they made the physical level like much slimmer and much smaller. And it's like one push button on the side to activate it. And then it comes with the like ocular housing.
Cool.
So that was cool. And then
I still run a manual level, man. I can't do the flashing lights and stuff
fair.
like that. It's like screaming at me, you know.
That's fair.
Again, maybe I'll try it for a comp or whatever. I did get on Black Friday. I got the new MDT timer, the Crusher timer.
Yep, I use that. Love it.
And I still haven't even used it yet. I just slapped it on my gun. It was like the factory seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, it's the programming is super simple so far. I don't like I have to program it because I don't like the like every the countdown like 10 seconds and 5 seconds. So like I'm trying to figure out how we're like, okay, hey, I just want like halfway mark and then maybe like a 10-second reminder and that's it. You know?
Okay. I set mine up to tell me when I've got 1 minute left on a 2-minute stage.
Yeah.
30 seconds left. And then I have a consistent countdown for the last 10 seconds.
Okay.
Just because I forget, I mostly forget to physically look at it, but now I'm so adjusted in tune with the beeps that I know like, oh, okay, I've got a minute left. Oh, I've got 30 seconds left. So anyway, that's super cool. And
these bipods, talking about lightweight hunting bipods, I actually got sent a bipods over the summer when I did a video with Best of the West video series, and Zach had these carbon fiber bipods, super lightweight backlands, and they actually sent me a set.
Okay.
Super nice. They're 8 ounces, so they're not as light as these new bipods, but they're very, very solid from the limited use that I've had with them so far. So I'm excited to take them out and actually use them for my hunting rifles.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, right? Because like I've seen like my time at Gunworks when I was working with hunters, and again, at this point there's always been lightweight hunting bipods, just not at the forefront or popular because again they're not in the competition realm, and this is still pre-Animal Hunter, right? And so I'm curious the combination of lightweight bipods paired with like magnums, right?
Yeah.
Because it's understanding the relationship of the load that you have to apply when you're in the prone. And it's like a 3-way relationship. It's like okay, hey, how much you're loading into the bipods? Like when I say loading into the bipods, I'm meaning like, how much pressure are you putting forward and backward at the same time, as well as how it connects to the ground, and then also how the bipods connect to the rifle in terms of just the not the Picatinny part, but the actual what's that area called where it swivels. Where the feet connect, right?
Because I think
the cradle, because I think that's a very misunderstood part as well. Right. Like, and I think in my opinion, like the best bipod on the market in terms of versatility, I think we can agree is the SkyPod.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
The most simplistic bipod on the market, in my opinion, is the Harris.
Yep.
And then I guess Thunder Beast and Atlas. Atlas is okay. I mean, it's simple. Their cant is not as smooth as I would like it to be compared to like a Thunder Beast or a SkyPod. But yeah. Anyways,
quick, one more bipod that I want to put on your map.
Yeah.
From a sort of sleeper company, but not really. Just never made a lot of headway in PRS is Accutac.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So super sturdy bipods. But so they have one, and this isn't like super new, but I just feel like nobody's ever talked about it or covered it. And I don't know exactly when it came out. It may have come out like at some point last year. But essentially, they've made a bipod specifically for PRS, NRL, like race gun stuff, and it's called the FD4. And it has the same style legs as the Thunder Beast and the Harris, where it goes 90 and you just slap it down and it goes straight down. So from 0 to 90 with just a slap. And because I have a Thunder Beast, so I carry two bipods. I carry a Thunder Beast and a double pulse Sky Pod to pretty much every match, because there's certain stages where you got to go like prone, then positional, but you have to move the legs up, and then you got to go back to prone, and you got to get them down quick, or whatever the case is. And admittedly, I haven't been super happy with the way that my Thunder Beast kind of comes loose at the legs, and it's a little wobbly. So I've been kind of looking for a replacement on that, and I'm super excited to get this in. And the other thing that I wasn't a super huge fan of with the Thunder Beast is the way that the legs rotate, the feet rotate. And these ones, so I ordered the ski feet for these. But anyway, just the ability to quick deploy. So this will complement my double pull in theory if it works out that way. So
I see the FD4 Arca Spec QD, about $400. Damn, dude, $400 for bipods.
Dude, you should see their other ones. They have like a $1,200 hydraulic bipod.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, even like the only bipod that I'm missing from my arsenal is a triple pull.
Oh, I got one right here, baby. You want to borrow it?
I just cannot. I cannot come to like drop $1,000 on. And this is somebody that obviously has a bunch of other stuff, but I just feel like, you know, especially for NRL hunters, like, man, I'll just clip into a tripod, a second tripod that I'm bringing, I bring anyways.
No way, dude. The triple pull for NRL Hunter at this point in how quickly NRL Hunter has evolved in these 5 years, the triple pull, I feel like, at least to compete at a high level, is almost a staple. It's almost a mandatory at this point.
Agree. Yeah. Cool. Is that it for accessories?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the majority of the cool accessories that I saw that should deserve some mention at this point. And then from there, chassis wise, there wasn't anything super new. Chassis wise, so Manners came out with essentially a folding LRH, which is super dope because I have an LRH and I like it as a lightweight like NRL Hunter option. They didn't call it the LRH; they called it something else, but it's really an LRH with a new folding mechanism. So Manners used to have folders in the past, but they were super big and super bulky. This is a much more streamlined, very lightweight. So I really like that. It has the Arca rail is actually molded carbon fiber, so it's all part of the same body. So that was pretty cool to see. New TCS from them. It's called the Max. It's basically the TCS, but they just really weighed it down. So now it weighs like 8.5 pounds by itself, like just the shell. And they put a lot of the weight forward in the fore end, essentially trying to promote better balance without like needing super heavy, like 125 barrels or anything like that. But feature-wise, it's the same as all the TCSs we've ever seen. KRG came out with the Whiskey 3 Gen 7. So they have the Whiskey 3 Gen 7 and they have the Whiskey 3 Pro Gen 7. The Pro comes with, so the Pro is a two-piece chassis that essentially is from the front of the fore end all the way to the rear of the tang. That's all one piece, and it looks very similar to the C4. It's about 2 inches shorter than the C4, so that's going to give you about a 14 and a half inch fore end because the C4 is like 16 3/4. But stylistically, it's going to look very similar. The top bridge is not going to be included the way that it is with the C4. It's going to be an additional accessory. The rear end is basically the same as we saw with the Gen 6 Whiskey 3, except for the folding mechanism has been updated so that you can actually flip it, so you could fold the stock either to the left or to the right, which I thought was pretty cool.
That is cool.
And then they're gonna make some weights that clip in. If you remember the Whiskey 3 like buttstock, it's got those like 3 like holes at the bottom right above the bag rider. There's gonna be weights for that section. Other than that, the controls are largely the same. And then the cheek piece, the one that was on display, I'm sure they still have the traditional options, but this one looked a little bit more like a KRG Bravo-ish, where it was a little bit more even on both sides as opposed to.
I saw that.
It's normally kind of like almost like a triangle. And it looked like a good chassis. Still kind of expensive. Obviously, the C4 is expensive at 2Gs, and then this one, the folding option, was going to be like $1,600, and the non-folder was going to be $1,300. Non-adjustable magwell. It has a nice big barricade stop, but no adjustable magwell. in terms of like the mag height or like the fore and aft the way the C4 has. So
I wanna change the trend of calling it a barricade stop, because technically no one's loading into barricades anymore. I call it a mag guard, because that's literally what it is.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's
fair.
protecting your mag. Well, like,
can we call it a bag stop?
Oh, that works too.
Because you load into the bag.
Yeah, you load in. Well, yeah, because everyone is using the bag technique at the balance point. So it's like it would be a bag stop, but it's also protecting your magazine.
Yep.
So
and then after that, MDT released the ESS Gen 3. So I think, and it's a totally modular system. So they kind of went the KRG route, which is interesting because you can buy a backbone, which is going to go from your trigger guard to like a short fore end, but it's like the inside of it. And then from there, you can piece together a myriad of different combinations because they sell different buttstocks. You could make the Hunt 26 out of it, and then you can make like an ACC out of it. So, I mean,
cool.
For those of you that really like to play Legos, you could definitely do something like that. I've definitely done that before, and I still play Legos with all my guns. At some point, it gets tiring, and you just kind of want to leave a setup alone. But it very innovative, I think, because of the amount of combinations you can get, like this fore end with that rear end and this grip that like normally doesn't come assembled that way. So very interesting concept there. And truthfully, their ESS lineup needed a refresh anyway. It was kind of dying out because obviously the ACC and the ACC Elite are the main competition ones. And then the Hunt 26 and then the new CBRN or Carbon is their hunting focused version. So the ESS just kind of fell in a weird spot where like, well, what do we really use this for? Like, so nice refresh from them in that regard. And I think that's probably pretty much it for like new chassis that I saw. Yeah.
Vision chassis.
Oh yes, the Vision. So the Vision Pro, the Remington 700 footprint has been out for a while.
Where's Vision out of for the guys?
They're out of Norway. So they're a small 6-man company, and they're out of Norway, but they're super cool guys. And so shout out to them. I went by the booth there, and they came out with the Vision Pro last year, and that was their Remington 700 footprint. They dropped new for this year the Tika inlet, which is really cool. But it's the same chassis. That one is like a premium competition chassis with all the features you want. Super, super dope. Adjustable butt pad, mag adjustments. It's actually one of the longest full ARCAs in the industry right now. It's an 18-inch fore end, and it's 18 inches of ARCA all the way from the front to the back, which is pretty much the longest outside of, I think, Falcor. I think Falcor's is 19. This is the same as the ACC Elite, which is about 18 inches, and everything else is shorter than that. And then AR-15 style grips, so you can switch it out if you want. They also have a folding block that you can flip from one side to the other. So it comes standard non-folder, but you can buy the folding adapter and then fold it to either the right or the left. And then a cool a couple of creature comfort features. The way that they've designed the rear end and sort of channeled out the cheek piece is you can fit a cleaning rod straight through it without moving anything. So you don't have to remove your cheek piece. You don't have to move your butt pad. If you have the folder, maybe you still fold to the side, but if you don't, you can just fit the cleaning rod straight through from the rear section. So that's like a cool creature comfort that I've never seen anybody else really do before. And the other thing that they like,
with someone that cleans their rifles pretty religiously now, that is for sure a very big comfort. And actually, I'm about to hit the arrow when I review it with their cheek riser.
Oh yeah.
And their whole buttstock design when I review it. I mean, I knew that getting into it after seeing Ryan's and then some of the other guys in the town. But yeah, there's someone that's cleaning the rifle every 250, 300 rounds.
Yeah, same.
Which it'll be over a weekend if I shoot in a match. It's just
exactly.
It's dude, we need to have the foresight here.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And then last point on their chassis that they're very proud of, which I think is cool, is that they make their chassis out of 70-75 aluminum, which is a step up from 6061. So pretty much 90% of the chassis that everybody's shooting on the market are all going to be 6061. The only other chassis that I know of that's made out of 7075 is the Falcor chassis, but I don't even know if Falcor really even cares about their chassis anymore. The difference between 7075 and 6061 is 7075 is much more dense aluminum than 6061, so it's a lot less tingy, it's a lot more dead, a lot less vibrations, a lot less stiffer. So those of you that run chassis that maybe you see some flex in there, there's zero chance you're going to get that flex with 7075 aluminum. And especially if you put like the full top cover, it just stiffens it up that much more. But yeah, in general. And I even asked them about that, and they said, truthfully, the reason they went with 7075 is because in Norway, 6061 from an industrial perspective is just not very popular. Pretty much every industry, like not even just rifle accessories, but like buildings and just pretty much anything that they make out of in Norway is 7075 aluminum. So it was actually easier for them to get 7075. So they said, well, why not? Let's just make the chassis out of that instead.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So that was cool. Good dudes over there.
Anything? What I was it? I guess just the MDT Gen Gen 3 ESS. Is that what it is? Like the most, like the cheapest. I feel like chassis nowadays are fucking becoming just as expensive as rifles.
Man, I know it. And even more so for some of them. Yeah, as far as like budget end, yeah, I mean, obviously, like so the Manners LRH folder, it's called something else. It's called the PPH, I think. Obviously, that one's like very hunting oriented and very hunting dedicated. So that one would probably be like the cheapest option in terms of what we discussed, just like at face value. But the ESS aims to kind of combined that. Like if you want to go balls to the wall, you can. If you want to be more budget conscious, you can. Tika released a new chassis.
Yeah, a new rifle. Well, yeah. I think the chassis is going to be available too.
Yes. So the chassis and the rifle are.
Yeah.
So you can buy just the chassis. Essentially, is supposed to replace the current like TAC A1.
Yeah.
So that's cool. If you're on the Tika bandwagon, I know that Tika you have a soft spot in your heart for Tikas.
Yeah, people think that I'm like sponsored by them.
I mean, hey, listen, Tika, if you see this, we're not against it, man.
Yeah. Well, can we talk about the elephant in the room here?
Okay, go ahead.
Dude, tell me why. We cannot tell me why as an industry we cannot get away from the fore ends all looking like the same thing.
Okay. You're right. They're very
and
square.
And okay, who is I guess who owns I shouldn't say that. Like who should we say is the founding father of that specific fore end? Would it be MDT?
Okay. Yes and no. So it depends. So MPA was the first one to come out with an Arca rail on their chassis.
Okay.
With the old BA comp, and they actually called it the rat rail.
Yeah, for sure. No, I remember that, but I'm talking about just specifically
like the square, with
the M lock slots.
Yes, the MDT with the ACC, the original ACC. That was the first one that was just it was just blocky. Aesthetically, it was just like okay. It wasn't like amazing. You just kind of looked at it and you're like, well, you just went bam and then bam on the cutter probably. Like it wasn't, with the barricade or mag stop or mag block or bag stop, whatever we're gonna call it now. And so ACC was really the one that popularized that very just like traditional like square fore end that we're gonna do. And some companies have put some sort of twist on that, whether it's styling cues or functionality. Like the spur chassis looks a little bit different, but like the bottom end is still a flat 1.5 inch rail.
I think you can't get away from that dovetail, but I think it's just the way. Well, MPA does like they have like it's almost like kind because they have a wider forend, right?
Correct. On the Matrix Pro, and then they also have the sides that you can attach on a traditional.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they have their own way. Zermatt on their Matterhorn is kind of similar. So their basis on the bottom of their chassis is a 1.5-inch Arca, but the side panels of their chassis actually flow down and out. So it has a similarly wide footprint to like a Matrix or like a Foundation or something like that.
Okay.
So they're kind of a little bit different in that realm. But yeah, so like the Vision, the ACC, the Solus chassis, like they're all just very square, like forends that are about 1.5 inches wide. Even the C4 from KRG, like the bottom of it is 1.5 inches wide. It's kind of got like a design where it's got like the M-locks kind of stick out to the side a little bit higher. And it's got some different styling cues, but the bottom is still basically the same. It's just a 1.5-inch forend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we got MDT to thank for that. And I don't think that it's going away because MDT shooters continue to have a lot of success. And so people are like, well, I'm just going to run an ACC Elite or an ACC or something that looks like that because it works clearly.
I hope that anyone that's listening to this, if anyone is on the engineer team to any of the, I would hope that someone that listens to this that's like, oh, let's come up with a bolt action, right? Because bolt action nowadays is like the new AR-15, right? And so, hey, I'm all for it, right? I love precision rifle shooting. I love being precise, but it's like, okay, hey, let's come up with a better forend design that doesn't look like. Okay, if the bottom is going to be an Arca, that's fine, right? But just make the front, like the upper half of it, look not like 90% of the other market. And let's talk about the buttstock. Same thing, buttstock, right?
I mean, a lot of the butt stocks, because everybody wants the same adjustability, right? They want to adjust the length of pull, they want to quick adjust the cheek piece, and they want to, now the adjustable bag rider is becoming like just a standard almost. I mean, you've got the Matrix Pro was like the first one that did it. Spur has theirs. Vision has theirs. The KRG C4 has theirs, and MDT doesn't have one. But I mean, they're kind of working on one. I didn't say that out loud, but we'll see if it ever comes out. But point being that, like, I think that particular feature is kind of here to stay. Whether it's a gimmick or whether it's actually useful or not, could fall on either side. I've actually had good luck using the different adjustable, bag riders, but it's definitely, like you said earlier, another point of training that I have to like conscientiously remind myself I have this feature and I can use it.
All right. I hate to cut this short, but I got to pick Zoe up from a hockey game. But I think we covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I'm excited to check out we didn't talk about the new Seekin. Maybe we can talk about the Seekin's PH3. I'm curious to see that set. Seekins has been dominating the NRL hunter market, So, that's going to be popular. I don't know if I told you I'm shooting Alaska, NRL hunter.
Yeah. I'm going to be there too.
So let's talk. Let's coordinate some stuff there. But yeah, no, this was good. I think this was a good second episode. What's our slogan? What can these guys expect from Dope Talk?
They can expect a little bit of tomfoolery, and they can expect a little bit of education, a little bit of debate, and just a good time, man. I think just a good time.
What's on your horizon next? I'm changing diapers probably for the next fucking 6 weeks, so I need to be living vicariously through somebody.
So I've got MDT Frostbite at the end of February. What are
you bringing out there?
As it sits right now, I'm probably gonna run my production gun. So I'm doing like a production vlog. So it's the MPA rifle, and then in 6GT. And I mean, it's been shooting well, so I don't necessarily have a reason not to take it unless something else falls in my lap that's more pressing in terms of like reviewing something. But right now, that's the current plan. Then after that, it will be Avenal in March for the 2-day match, the Cash Out Chaos. John is supposed to come up for that one. And you know, we're squatted together currently. We'll have a good time at that one. I've got a full calendar for the rest of the year, bro.
Nice, nice. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll connect before Frostbite. So let's talk about, maybe in the next one, talk about what your train up, what you just like me, you know, changing shit all the time, and yeah. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that. But did we decide on a slogan?
let me go back to the notes quickly here and see where we were at with it. I think, man, there's a few good ones. I don't know. This is your daily dope. Let's see. We had also said, man, until next time, check your dope. See you guys on the range. Check your dope, or stay safe, shoot straight, and check your dope.
I like check your dope.
All right. Yeah, we go with that. Something super simple.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to Dope Talk.
Yup. And you know what it is. Check your dope.
Peace.